Welcome to Lukebook Money, built for Singapore. Today, a hawker auntie selling $4 chicken rice, who is quietly worth $4 million. Here's the real story. Quick favor before we start. If you're new to Tiger Brokers, just tap the link in my description below, or key in the code on your screen when you sign up. We both earn $90, and it quietly keeps these daily videos free. Thank you. Now, let's get into it. There is an auntie in a heartland hawker center selling a $4 plate of chicken rice. The lunch crowd has no idea she is quietly worth around $4 million. Every weekday at noon, a queue forms in front of her stall. Office workers, students, a property agent in a crisp shirt. None of them would ever guess the truth. Her hands are calloused. Her apron is stained. She wakes at 4 in the morning and she has done it for 35 years. And quietly, plate by plate, dollar by dollar, she has built a fortune that most of the people queuing in front of her will never touch. This is the story of Auntie Bee. And by the end, you will understand a kind of wealth that hides in plain sight all over Singapore. Before we start, one honest note. This is an educational story, not financial advice. Auntie Bee is a portrait built from real Singapore patterns, not a stock tip. Let us begin where she begins. In the dark, long before the rest of Singapore is awake. The alarm goes off at 4 in the morning. The estate is silent. Auntie Bee is already swinging her legs off the bed. By 4:30 she is on the first bus, or on her old scooter, heading to the wholesale market to choose the chickens herself. She has bought from the same supplier for 20 years. She knows the good birds from the tired ones by feel. This is craft, not luck. By 6 the stall is lit. The rice is washing. The chicken stock has been simmering since before dawn. The chili is pounded fresh. She does not cut corners. The same recipe, the same standard, every single plate, for 3.5 decades. That is why the queue exists. The first customers arrive at 7:30. Taxi uncles, nurses coming off the night shift, an old man who has ordered the same thing for 15 years. Her chicken rice costs $4. $4. In a city where a coffee in town can cost $7, she has held her price almost flat for years. Now multiply that. On a good day she sells 250, maybe 300 plates, plus drinks and extra portions. Plate by plate, it adds up. At lunch the queue snakes past 3 other stalls. People will wait 20 minutes. A famous food blogger once filmed it. She did not even notice. She works the wok herself. Chops the chicken herself. Takes the cash herself. No fancy machine, no franchise, no investors. Just her, and one helper. By 2 in the afternoon the rice is gone. By 3 the stall is scrubbed clean. By 4 she is home, feet up, counting the day's takings into an old biscuit tin. Before we leave the stall, understand why it earns the way it does. This is not a sleepy business. It is a small, brutal, beautifully run machine. 35 years means she has cooked well over 2 million plates of chicken rice. 2 million. Each one to the same standard, because the day she drops it, the queue drops too. She does not advertise. She has no social media. Her marketing is the taste of the food and 35 years of never letting a regular down. Word of mouth did the rest. And the volume is the secret of the cash. A $4 plate sounds tiny. But $4 times hundreds of plates times 6 days a week times decades is an ocean of cash. Now look at how she lives. A modest 4-room flat she has owned outright for over 20 years. The same flat, the same furniture, for decades. She takes the bus. She does not own a car and never has. She has flown overseas maybe 4 times in her life, always economy, always to see relatives. She buys her clothes at the wet market. She cooks her own dinner from stall leftovers. She has never once felt a pull to upgrade, because nothing about her sense of self was ever tied to her things. Her phone is 3 generations old. Her watch is a cheap quartz that just tells the time. Her one luxury is a good night's sleep and a strong cup of kopi. If you met her at the void deck, you would assume she has very little. You would assume she is just getting by, like so many older Singaporeans. You would be wrong by about $4 million. She does not look rich because she never tried to look rich. That, it turns out, is the whole secret. Her children are grown now, with their own homes. Her husband passed some years ago. She lives alone, simply, and she is the first to tell you she wants for nothing. She has never owned a designer bag. She has never been to a fancy restaurant in town. When her regulars ask why she still works, she just smiles and says the what keeps her young. Before we open her books, sit with the contrast. Everything about her says ordinary. Almost nothing about her finances is. So how does a $4 plate of chicken rice turn into $4 million? To answer that, we have to open her books. Imagine she let you see everything. Every account, every property, every dollar. Here is what is really there. First, a warning to the impatient. None of what you are about to see is exciting. There is no secret coin, no genius trade, no overnight win. Add it all up, and Auntie Bee's net worth lands at roughly $4 million. Let that sit for a second. A hawker. 4 million. Now let us break that down, because the shape of the 4 million matters far more than the number itself. Piece 1. The flat she lives in. A 4-room resale flat in a mature estate, fully paid off, worth somewhere around $600,000 today. Piece 2, and this is the one people miss. She owns a second HDB flat. She bought it early, lives in one, and rents the other out. That second flat is worth around $550,000, and it pays her about $24,000 a year in rent. Piece 3. A small commercial unit, a little industrial shop space, that she picked up years ago. Commercial property has no additional buyer's stamp duty. That unit is worth around $450,000, and it is leased to a small business that pays her steady rent every month. Piece 4, and the quiet engine of the whole thing. An investment portfolio of around $1.8 million. Inside it, nothing exotic. The 3 local banks. A couple of steady property trusts. The Straits Times Index. All boring, all held for decades. That portfolio throws off around $90,000 a year in dividends. Money that lands in her account whether she opens the stall or not. Piece 5. Her CPF. Decades of contributions on her own earnings, plus the interest, sitting in her special and retirement accounts. Call it around $300,000 in CPF, quietly earning around 4% a year in the safest corner of her wealth. And piece 6. A cash float. Every cash business needs working capital, and she keeps a healthy buffer for the store and for life. Around $300,000 in cash and savings, sitting ready. Not earning much, but it means she never panics and never sells in a crash. Auntie Bee's net worth, piece by piece, illustrative. Where the 4 million sits. Look at that mix. Almost half is liquid investments she could sell tomorrow. The rest is property that pays rent, plus safe CPF and cash. This is not a fragile fortune. And notice what is missing. No debt. Not a single dollar owed on any of it. Every flat, every unit, every share, owned free and clear. Here is a number worth sitting with. To safely draw $100,000 a year from investments alone, you typically need well over $2 million behind it. She has all that, and the property on top. Now add up just the income. Around $90,000 in dividends, plus rent from 2 properties, plus CPF interest. That is well over $100,000 a year. Here is the part that should stop you. That passive income, the money that arrives without her lifting a finger, is more than what most of the office workers in her queue earn from their jobs. She still opens the stall at 4 in the morning. She does not need to. She just likes the work. That is what $4 million actually buys. Not a flashy life. The freedom to do the work you love, on your own terms, forever. Let us pause on 3 things in those books that almost nobody expects from a hawker. They are the heart of why she's rich. Surprise 1. She owns more property than most people in landed houses. 3 separate units, all generating income, all bought without ever stretching herself thin. Surprise 2. Her investment income alone, around $90,000 a year in dividends, is more than the median full-time Singaporean earns from a whole year of work. For reference, the median full-time wage in Singapore is somewhere around $5,500 a month before deductions. Her portfolio quietly out-earns that. Surprise 3. She still has no idea she is supposed to feel rich. To her, the $4 million is not a lifestyle. It is just a number that lets her sleep soundly. And that is the deepest point of the whole review. She did not build the $4 million to spend it. She built it to never again have to worry about money. Mission accomplished. So the number is real. 4 million. But the number is the easy part. The interesting question is how. How did a $4 plate get her here? Here is the honest, unglamorous machine behind the 4 million. Anyone can understand it. Almost nobody copies it. Start with the stall itself, because the engine of everything is the business. A popular hawker stall is a serious little cash machine, far more than people assume. A busy, well-loved stall can gross somewhere around $8,000 to $15,000 a month. The hours are brutal and the margins are thin, but the cash is real. After ingredients, stall rental, utilities and her one helper, say she clears $5,000 to $7,000 a month in good years. A solid heartland income. Now here is move number 1, the move that changes everything. She banked almost all of it. Her whole life cost her around $1,500 a month. The flat was paid off. No car. Simple food. So most of what the stall earned, she kept. Picture 2 hawkers earning the same money. One spends it all and stays exactly where she's. Auntie Bee banked the gap, and that gap quietly became a fortune. Same income. Completely different future. The difference is not how much you make. It is the gap between what you make and what you spend. A big income with no gap is just a fast hamster wheel. The gap is where freedom is built. Now, money sitting in a biscuit tin does nothing. So move number 2. She turned the cash into assets that work, and the first one was property. Years ago, when prices were far lower, she bought that second HDB flat. She did not stretch. She paid it down hard, then rented it out. Suddenly she had a tenant paying her every month. The rent helped pay down the flat, and once it was paid off, the rent was simply hers. Then she learned something most Singaporeans never think about. On commercial and industrial property, there is no additional buyer's stamp duty. For a second residential property, the extra stamp duty can be brutal. On a small commercial unit, it does not apply. So her next property dollar went there. Commercial and industrial units often yield more rent per dollar than homes. A small unit leased to a steady business gave her another stream of monthly cash. So now she had 3 sources of money. The stall, the flat rent, and the commercial rent. 3 taps, all running into the same bucket. Move number 3. She took the overflow from that bucket and built a portfolio. And she kept it almost embarrassingly simple. There was nothing clever inside it. The 3 local banks. A handful of property trusts. The Straits Times Index. All boring, all bought to be held for the rest of her life. The 3 local banks, because she could see with her own eyes that all of Singapore uses them. Steady, profitable, and they pay fat dividends. Singapore's big banks have paid dividend yields of around 5 to 6% in recent years. On a large holding, that is a serious river of cash. She added a couple of property trusts, the kind that own malls and warehouses and pay out most of their rent to owners like her. More monthly cash. And she added the Straits Times Index, a single basket that holds Singapore's biggest companies at once. One simple buy, broad ownership. Now here is move number 4, and it is the quiet superpower of the whole story. Every single dividend, she reinvested. Every one. The dividends bought more shares. Those shares paid more dividends, which bought even more shares. The snowball began to roll, and it never stopped. Reinvested dividends are the closest thing to magic in all of investing. And it is the most boring magic there is. Move number 5, the one nobody likes to hear. She did all this for 35 years. She did not jump in and out. She did not panic sell. She held. Watch the line. For the first decade it barely moves, and it feels almost pointless. Then the snowball takes over, and the last stretch climbs in a way the early years never hinted at. Markets crashed several times in those years. 1997, 2008, 2020. Each time, the queue at her stall barely changed. While others sold in fear, she kept earning cash from the walk, kept buying, and let the recoveries do their work. Her income never depended on the market's mood. Notice the quiet advantage of a cash business through a crash. A salaried worker can be retrenched in a downturn. People still queue for a $4 lunch in good times and bad. Her income was recession-resistant. And running quietly under all of it, her CPF. Every dollar she contributed earned a safe rate, around 4% in the right accounts, year after year. Put the moves together and the machine is complete. A cash business, a punishing savings rate, property bought early, a simple dividend portfolio, reinvested forever. So here is the whole recipe on one screen. A busy cash business, an extreme savings rate, property bought early including the no stamp duty commercial unit, a simple portfolio of banks, trusts and the index, and every dividend reinvested for 35 years. Let us go deeper on the part most people skip. Not what she bought, but how she behaved with the money before she ever invested it. Most finance talk obsesses over what to buy. Auntie Bee proves the bigger lever is how much you save in the first place. A high savings rate beats a clever stock almost every time. Think about it. If you save half your income, every year of work buys you a year of freedom. If you save a tenth, you must work 9 years to buy one. The maths is brutal and simple. Auntie Bee, in her best years, saved something close to 2/3 of what the stall cleared. 2/3. That single number is the real reason she is sitting on 4 million. And crucially, she never let her spending rise when her income rose. A bumper month at the stall did not become a bigger life. It became a bigger pile of assets. Most people get a raise and buy a bigger life. The wealthy get a raise and buy more freedom. There is a name for that trap. Lifestyle inflation. The new phone, the nicer car, the bigger flat, each one quietly eating the raise that was supposed to make you free. Auntie Bee never fell into it, not because she was a saint, but because her tastes simply never changed. The same kopi, the same bus, the same flat. Her costs stayed frozen while her income grew. Now, a fair question. Is a cash business an advantage here? Honestly, yes and no. Cash makes it easy to spend without noticing, but it also makes it easy to save with iron discipline. She chose discipline. Every evening, the takings were split before anything else. A portion for ingredients, a portion for life, and the rest swept straight into savings and investments. That phrase matters. Pay yourself first. She did not save what was left after spending. She spent what was left after saving. That order, flipped, changes a whole life. Now back to the assets. There is one more reason her property choices were so quietly smart, and it is worth understanding properly. Most Singaporeans who buy a second property buy another home, and get hit hard by the additional buyer's stamp duty, a tax that can run into many tens of thousands of dollars upfront. Auntie Bee did own a second residential flat, bought early when the rules and prices were far gentler. But for her third property move, she went commercial, where the extra tax simply does not apply. A small shop unit, a little industrial space. Less glamorous than a condo, but it often pays more rent for every dollar invested, and it skipped the tax that punishes extra homes. She was never a property speculator flipping for quick gains. She bought, she held, she collected rent for decades, and she let Singapore's long rise quietly lift the value underneath her. And every rental dollar did double duty. It paid down the mortgages early, and once the loans were gone, the same rent became pure income she funneled straight into shares. See the system clicking together? The store fed the property. The property fed the portfolio. The portfolio fed itself. Each part quietly powering the next, year after year. Not one of those moves is clever. Not one needs a finance degree. They just need to be done, consistently, for an uncomfortably long time. Auntie Bee's story quietly destroys one of the most stubborn myths about money in Singapore. The myth goes like this. A humble job means a humble bank account. A fancy job means a fat one. The clothes tell you the wealth. It feels obviously true. And it is almost always wrong. Look again at her queue. There is a young office executive in a sharp shirt, earning maybe $6,000 a month. A good salary by any measure. But his rent is $2,000. His car loan is $1,500. His credit card, his holidays, his nice dinners eat most of the rest. He earns a strong income and saves almost nothing. His net worth, after years of work, might be $30,000 or $40,000. Behind him in the queue, a property agent who closed a big deal last month. Designer watch, leased Continental car, posts the lifestyle online. But income agents like him is lumpy and the lifestyle is fixed and expensive. The watch is on installment. The car is leased. The image costs a fortune to maintain. Auntie Bee, serving them both their $4 plates, is worth more than the two of them combined. Many times over. Stand them side by side and the truth is almost funny. The well-dressed crowd earns far more than she does, and owns far less. The apron hides the bigger balance sheet. Here is the line to remember. A big income funds a big lifestyle. Auntie Bee used a modest income to fund her freedom. Same fuel, completely different car. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep. They are not the same thing, and Singapore confuses them every day. This is why you genuinely cannot tell who is wealthy by looking. The man in the leased car may own more than he owns. The auntie in the apron may own a small empire. Real wealth is quiet by nature. It does not need to announce itself, because it has nothing to prove. The loud signals are often the debt, not the money. The watch on the wrist, the badge on the car, the logo on the bag. Those are not proof of wealth. Very often they are the receipts of where the wealth went. Auntie Bee never paid for the image. And because she never paid for the image, she got to keep the thing the image is supposed to represent. The actual money. There is a second, sneakier myth hiding inside the first, and it traps high earners more than anyone. Let us name it. The trap is believing that a high income is the same as wealth. It is not. A high income is a fast-flowing tap. Wealth is the size of the bucket you actually keep. Many of the highest earners in Singapore run the tap wide open straight into a bucket full of holes. Big mortgage, big car loan, big lifestyle. Lots flows in, almost nothing stays. Auntie Bee had a smaller tap, but a bucket with no holes at all. Over 35 years, the small tap into the sealed bucket beat the big tap into the leaky one. By millions. This is why a doctor or a banker can hit 50 with a huge salary and a tiny net worth, while a hawker hits 60 with a modest income and a fortune. The bucket is what counts. It also explains why so many people feel they can never get ahead despite earning more every year. They are filling a leaky bucket faster. The answer was never a bigger tap. You do not get wealthy by earning more. You get wealthy by keeping more of what you already earn. None of this is to shame anyone who earns a high salary. A good income is a wonderful thing. It is simply not the finish line. What you do with it is the whole game. Once you truly see this, you cannot unsee it. You will walk through any hawker center, any void deck, and wonder which quiet auntie is secretly a millionaire. Now we have to be brutally honest, because the wrong lesson from this story can do real harm. It would be very easy to walk away thinking, just open a hawker stall and you too will be a millionaire. Please do not think that. It is dangerously wrong. Auntie Bee is the upper tail. She is not the average hawker. She is the exceptional one, and you must hold both facts at once. Most food businesses do not make it. A large share of new food and beverage ventures close within their first few years. The street is paved with stalls that failed. For every Auntie Bee, there are many who worked just as hard, made a worse dish, picked a worse location, or simply met a worse decade, and never made it. And the grind is real. Do not romanticize it. 14-hour days. Standing for all of them. Burns, cuts, aching knees, and aching back, sweltering heat. She missed family dinners. She missed holidays. She has barely had a proper day off in 35 years. The sacrifice was enormous and it was paid in years of her life. She also started young, with energy, health, and the runway of decades ahead of her. Starting that machine at 60 is a very different proposition. And the biggest, most uncomfortable truth of all. She rode a once-in-a-generation tailwind. She did not just save. The wind was at her back the whole way. Singapore property rose, and rose, and rose over her working life. The flats and the units she bought multiplied in value in a way nobody can promise will repeat. Her bank shares grew through decades of a growing economy. Past performance, as the honest saying goes, is no guarantee of the future. The next 35 years may look nothing alike. Hard work plus high savings plus a rising tide. Take away the tide, and the same effort gives a smaller boat. So the lesson is absolutely not, go and gamble your savings on a hawker stall. The business still has to work, and most of the risk is real and unforgiving. And there is a softer caveat too. Do not become a joyless miser chasing a number. Auntie Bee is not unhappy. She loves her craft and her customers. That matters. Money locked in property and CPF is not as free as cash. There are real trade-offs. Liquidity, flexibility, the years you cannot get back. Be honest about all of it. And to say it once more, clearly. This is education, not financial advice. Your situation, your health, your timeline, and your tolerance for risk are your own. Let us be even more careful, because 3 specific things made Auntie Bee unusually lucky, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. First, timing. She bought property in an era of lower prices and gentler rules. A young person trying to buy a second property today faces far higher prices and a heavy extra stamp duty. Second, the long bull run. Singapore bank shares and the broader market rose powerfully across her career. A different 35 years could deliver flatter, more disappointing returns. Third, her health and her energy. The whole machine ran on her ability to stand at a walk for 14 hours, 6 days a week, for decades. Take away the body, and the engine stalls. So please do not become a hawker and get rich. Here instead, here are the habits that work, now apply them inside your own life, your own job, your own century. And one more honest thing. There are quieter, gentler roads to a good chunk of this. You do not have to suffer 14-hour days to live below your means and invest steadily. A salaried Singaporean who saves a healthy slice of a median income and invests it simply for decades can also reach a very comfortable place. Slower, perhaps, but far less brutal. So if the lesson is not the stall, and not the lucky tailwind, what is left? What can an ordinary person actually take from Auntie Bee? Strip away the luck and the grind, and a small set of habits remains. These are the copyable part. This is the real gift of her story. Habit 1. Live well below your means, on purpose, for a long time. Not as a punishment. As a quiet engine that funds your freedom. It does not matter whether you earn $3,000 or $30,000 a month. What matters is the gap you create and protect between earning and spending. Habit 2. Turn your income into assets that pay you. Auntie Bee turned a cash business into flats, a unit, and a portfolio. Every dollar got a job. A salary that is all spent buys you 1 month of life. A salary partly turned into assets starts buying you future months you never have to work for. Habit 3. Buy good, boring things and hold them. Banks, the index, property trusts, your CPF. Nothing exotic. Quality, then patience. She never tried to be clever. She never chased the hot tip. She bought what she understood and what paid her, and then she simply refused to sell in a panic. Habit 4. Reinvest everything you can, for as long as you can. Every dividend, every bit of rent, back into the snowball. Let it compound untouched. Time is the secret ingredient nobody can shortcut. Compounding is slow, then sudden. The first 10 years feel pointless. The last 10 feel like magic. Habit 5. Be patient. Be boring. Outlast everyone. This is the one that beats almost every clever person, because almost nobody can do it. Here is the whole playbook in 5 lines. Live well below your means by choice. Turn income into assets that pay you. Buy good boring things and hold them. Reinvest everything. And be patient enough to outlast everyone. Notice what is not on that list. No secret. No leverage to the eyeballs. No timing the market. No luck you cannot control. Just habits, repeated. You do not need a hawker stall. You need a gap, somewhere to put the gap, the patience to leave it alone, and enough time for the snowball to roll. And you can start with a tiny gap. $100 a month, invested simply and never touched, started young, becomes a number that will surprise you. She did not get rich quickly. She got rich quietly. And quiet, repeated for decades, beats loud almost every time. If you take only one thing from Auntie Bee, take this. You do not need her stall, her decade, or her luck. You need her first small decision, repeated. Step 1 is almost embarrassingly small. Work out your gap. What comes in, minus what genuinely must go out. Even $100 a month is a real, usable gap. Step 2. Give that gap a job before you can spend it. Automate it. Have it move to savings and a simple investment the day your money arrives, the way she split her takings each night. Step 3. Put it somewhere boring and broad and low cost, like a simple index of Singapore or the world, and then commit to leaving it alone for a very long time. Step 4. Top up your CPF and let the safe 4% compound in the background. It is not exciting, but over decades it becomes a quiet pillar under everything else. And step 5, the hardest one. Keep going when it is boring, keep going when markets fall, keep going when friends are buying the exciting thing. The going is the whole strategy. The next time you are in a hawker center, look at the auntie at the busiest stall. The calloused hands. The $4 plate. The endless queue. She may be exactly what she looks like. Or she may quietly own 3 properties and outearn every person in her queue while serving them lunch. And remember, this works in reverse too. The flashiest people you know may be the furthest from free. The shiniest car in the car park is sometimes the heaviest chain. Because in Singapore, real wealth almost never looks like wealth. It looks like an old flat, a bus pass, a simple plate of food, and decades of quiet discipline. Auntie Bee never chased rich. She just refused, day after day, to spend her freedom on things she did not need. And that, over 35 years, was enough. One more honest reminder before you go. This was a story to teach a pattern, not advice for your money. Learn the habits, then make your own careful choices. If this changed how you see the quiet aunties and uncles around you, that is the whole point. Now go and build your own quiet $4 fortune. Thank you for watching. If this helped, share it with someone who needs to hear that wealth is built quietly. We will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. If this made building wealth in Singapore a little clearer, give it a like and subscribe to Lukebook so you don't miss the next episode. See you in the next one.